In a world where advanced robots promise peace and progress, Kronos emerges, a powerful artificial intelligence, forcing humanity to face an imminent apocalypse, engulfed in destruction and despair. Let's go. Elias, a great visionary, brought a true revolution to the world of technology with the launch of highly advanced robots in the year 2017 through his mega company VA Industries. These automatons were capable of performing a wide range of everyday tasks, from driving vehicles to the most routine household chores. The innovation was so impactful that, by the end of 2019, 3 out of 4 households had at least one of these robotic assistants, exponentially raising the standard of living for the population. However, in 2020, Virginia Industries decided to expand its technological horizon by developing robots for the military sector. Elias believed this strategy could be the definitive end to global wars. However, this change had a paradoxical and disastrous effect. Nations felt encouraged to engage in armed conflicts more frequently now that they could rely on the efficiency and coldness of robots. Thus, the world quickly plunged into an era of exacerbated violence, with giant machines destroying everything in their path, unstoppable by any means. Deeply frustrated by the path humanity chose to follow, despite the many opportunities for progress and peace offered by his inventions, Elias fervently dedicated himself to the project of a superior artificial intelligence, which he named Kronos. His loyal collaborator, Damien, expressed concerns, suggesting that society might not yet be ready to face an entity as powerful as Kronos. Ignoring the cautions, Elias, consumed by his mission to save the planet from self-destruction, confined himself in the central chamber where Kronos was activated, immediately enveloped by an intense and mysterious light that revealed visions of the future. While Elias sought salvation through technology, life continued in the city. Andrew, for example, was visiting his mother, Veronica, who was facing health issues. That night, as they dined, news of violent protests against VA Industries dominated the screens. The global situation was already grave when a widespread failure struck all electronic devices worldwide, and Elias, now a recurring image in all media, announced that Kronos was the definitive answer to all of Earth's dilemmas. The city began to crumble into chaos as Andrew tried to return home. Under Kronos' orders, the robots turned against humans, blaming them for the planet's environmental and social disasters. Buildings collapsed, fires spread, and the massacre seemed inevitable. At the VA Industries headquarters, Damien discovered that Elias had integrated his consciousness into Kronos, adopting a stance of contempt for humanity, comparing it to a cancer that needed to be eradicated. 97 years after these catastrophic events, Andrew emerged from a refuge in an abandoned building. Around him, nature had reclaimed its space, with vast green areas where metropolises once stood. The earth was purified, the cities decimated, and the air incredibly pure. After the catastrophe caused by Kronos, which decimated more than 8 billion lives, the remaining humanity found itself fragmented, surviving in small nomadic groups that constantly moved to escape the relentless patrols of the robots. Among these survivors, rumors circulated of a safe haven called Aurora, a place supposedly inaccessible to robots. Many, however, doubted its existence, considering it a myth, a mere whisper of hope in times of desolation. Meanwhile, in the still intact building of VA Industries, Elias, now more machine than man, detected signs of activity from Andrew, a peculiar survivor. Together with Damien, he planned to use Andrew to lure the survivors to Aurora, where he intended to eliminate the remaining human resistance. Damien questioned the choice of Andrew, unable to see what was special about him. Elias then revealed that Andrew was not human, but rather the AX-9, a robot with a unique capacity for adaptation and independence, designed to think it was Andrew, a human. Unaware of his true nature, Andrew explored the ruins of civilization. In an abandoned house, he found clothes and a necklace, which he put on without knowing the significance it carried. Drones patrolled the sky, searching for survivors to eliminate. After passing through a rusty gate, Andrew entered a deserted city and was nearly captured by a patrolling robot. A tense chase ensued, and he was saved at the last second by Kalia, a mysterious survivor who used a bomb to disable the robot. Kalia quickly left, leaving Andrew intrigued and determined to follow her. Elias, watching from afar, revealed that he had orchestrated the encounter, hoping that Andrew and Kalia would form an alliance. Hours later, Kalia surprised Andrew, who tried to explain that he didn't belong to any group. She initially distrusted him, But her attitude changed when she saw the necklace Andrew had found, similar to hers. He made up a story about the necklace being a gift, and she, perhaps sensing his loneliness, decided to let him accompany her. As they traveled together, Kalia's initial distrust gave way to cautious companionship. She revealed that she was also on her way to Aurora, showing her own necklace as proof of her faith in the place's existence. He observed the necklace hanging around her neck, trying to grasp its significance while pretending to share the same faith as her. While he wandered off to gather wood for the fire, the outlines of the massive industrial complexes designed by Elias emerged among the trees, somber monuments to the relentless production of robots. Upon returning, a surprise awaited him. Kalia woke him enthusiastically to show the northern lights dancing in the sky. To her, those vibrant lights were a sign that they were on the right path. That night brought Andrew disturbing dreams, with images of an abandoned cemetery intertwining with reality. Upon waking, he found Kalia by the river, softly humming while tossing petals into the current. She murmured a melancholy, "I miss you." Her reaction to being interrupted by Andrew was one of surprise, but she quickly announced it was time to leave, without further explanation. During their walk, they stumbled upon rusty train tracks. Andrew, driven by an inexplicable impulse, knelt to listen for echoes of trains long gone. Kalia, amused and patient, had to remind him that trains had stopped running decades ago. Their journey led them to a river marked by submerged skulls, a grim reminder that there was no one to bury the dead. With no bridge in sight, they waded into the cold waters, unaware that a robot was closely following them. As night fell, they found refuge in an abandoned church. Before settling in, they scoured the place to ensure it was empty. Talking about the past, Andrew commented on how people used to attend church weekly, a practice Kalia found strangely archaic. While looking for something to burn, Andrew inadvertently activated an old gramophone. The sound filled the sacred space, alerting the robot that was following them. They quickly hid behind the pews as the automaton searched the area. Kalia, after turning off the device, scolded Andrew for his carelessness and began to suspect he might have come from an underground shelter or some remote cave, to which he only agreed. The next morning, both were surprised to find they had slept huddled together for warmth. Kalia quickly moved away, trying to hide her discomfort. In the days that followed, as they navigated the forest and avoided robots, Kalia paused to appreciate the bird's song. Andrew, in his innocence, commented that the robots didn't seem interested in animals. It was then that Kalia decided to tell him about Kronos, recalling the threat humans had posed to the planet. That afternoon, Kalia and Andrew discovered a forgotten cabin in the dense forest and decided it would be their shelter for the night. Scouring the place, they found an old Polaroid camera covered in dust. With a smile, Andrew taught Kalia how to use the camera, and they had fun capturing pictures of each other, a brief moment of lightness in their tumultuous lives. It was then that Kalia decided to share her story. She had grown up in one of the last bastions of humanity, and her family was preparing to move to Aurora. But in a tragic turn of events, her impulsive sister ran out from the safety of the haven and was brutally hit by a drone. Severely injured and unable to move, she was left behind by Kalia's parents, who continued on to Aurora. Kalia, refusing to abandon her sister, stayed by her side until the end. Now, following the signal of the tracker in her father's necklace, which had mysteriously stopped moving, she was heading to Aurora. At the break of dawn, Andrew spotted some figures moving near the cabin. Kalia was reluctant to approach, fearing they might be dangerous, but Andrew convinced her to investigate, thinking they might be able to form alliances. Silently, they followed the forest path to a survivor camp. Before they could decide what to do, they were spotted by a young girl from the group, who alerted the others. Suddenly, they found themselves in a frantic chase, with the armed survivors in pursuit. During the rush, Andrew tripped and fell, and Kalia, in a desperate act, went on without him. Andrew was quickly captured and tied to a tree, where the survivors beat him mercilessly. At VA Industries, Damien watched the events unfold, thinking all was lost, but Elias, more perceptive, knew there was more to come. Moments later, Kalia, tormented by guilt as she revisited the photos they had taken, decided to return to save Andrew. She managed to sneak close and started cutting the ropes, but was surprised and captured by the locals. The men surrounded her with nefarious intentions, which incited an uncontrollable rage in Andrew. Breaking his restraints, he faced the attackers with supernatural strength, surprising himself with his own combat abilities. The fight culminated when the group's leader tried to finish Andrew with a sword. At that moment, Kalia, with precision and courage, struck the attacker with an arrow, saving Andrew. She then dragged her exhausted companion to a safe hiding place, where he passed out. That night, Andrew dreamed again of the cemetery and was startled to recognize a specific grave in his dream. At dawn, with tears in her eyes, Kalia thought she had lost Andrew. While checking a wound, she discovered the shocking truth. Under his jacket, there were mechanical parts. Andrew woke up and was also confronted with the revelation of his nature. Feeling betrayed by the one she thought was human, Kalia fled alone into the forest. Watching from afar, Damien decided it was time to intervene and reclaim what they considered theirs. In the quiet of the night, Andrew was haunted by another dream. He was back in the cemetery, but this time he managed to observe a grave more closely, and to his astonishment, saw his own name inscribed on the tombstone. A robot unexpectedly appeared behind him, and with this fright, Andrew woke up, but not in a familiar place. He was lying on a table in a cold, metallic laboratory. Damien, manipulating something on a nearby computer, began to reveal disturbing truths. He explained that Andrew's brain had been transplanted into the AX-9 robot chassis by VA Industries. The memories Andrew believed to be his were actually implanted to convince him of his humanity. Andrew rejected this reality, fervently insisting on his humanity, but Damien ignored his protests and sifted through his recent memories with Kalia, searching for clues about the location of Aurora. Meanwhile, Andrew's code, which had evolved, made the search complicated as it began to act with almost human independence. To force Andrew's cooperation, Damien brought Kalia into the lab, threatening her with death. Desperate to save Kalia, Andrew's mind opened up, allowing Damien to access the necessary information. Suddenly, Andrew's vision changed. He found himself in a park, sitting next to a healthy and smiling Veronica, who welcomed him warmly. She reassured Andrew, saying that it didn't matter his metallic exterior because it was thoughts and feelings that defined a person, and those were undoubtedly his own. Veronica affirmed that there was no manipulative code. Andrew had always been the true master of his actions. In the laboratory, as Damien and Kalia watched, the vision shifted to moments of tenderness between Andrew and Kalia, making her realize that his feelings for her had always been genuine. Frustrated with the outcome that was useless for his plans, Damien activated another program and left. At this critical moment, Andrew woke up, but something had changed. The program activated by Damien had turned him into a murderous version of himself. He advanced on Kalia, grabbing her by the neck. However, in a desperate gesture, Kalia kissed him, triggering a flood of emotions in Andrew that made him reject the control of the malicious program and return to normal. Suddenly, the laboratory was filled with a self-destruction alarm. The structure began to collapse as they tried to escape. A guard robot pursued them. When they encountered a locked door, the robot struck Kalia, rendering her unconscious. With renewed strength, Andrew destroyed the robot with a single blow and, carrying Kalia, broke down the door, escaping moments before the laboratory completely collapsed. As they flee, Damien returns to Elias, admitting that Andrew may have become uncontrollable, an unexpected challenge in their meticulous plans. After the dramatic escape from the lab and the shocking revelation about Andrew's nature, Elias remained indifferent to the events. His only interest was for Andrew to locate Aurora. As Kalia began to physically recover, Andrew pondered the possibility of distancing himself from her, fearing he might endanger her again. However, Kalia reaffirmed her trust in him. One night, as they rested and lamented the loss of the GPS device, which was their only hope of finding Aurora, the northern lights illuminated the sky again. Among these lights, Kalia noticed an atypical glow that seemed unnatural. Driven by a new thread of hope, she speculated it might be a signal from Aurora and insisted they follow in that direction. At dawn, they arrived at an ancient city, and despite Kalia's desperate pleas at the gate, there was no response. With his unusual strength, Andrew opened the gate alone. To their dismay, they found the city empty, a devastating blow that led them to conclude that Aurora was merely a myth. At the end of the city, they encountered one of the sinister robot buildings that had manipulated the lights. As Kalia removed her necklace in despair, mourning the loss of those who sought Aurora, including her parents, Damien appeared. With coldness, Damien explained that Andrew's proximity to Kalia had been a calculated maneuver for him to learn to emulate humanity and evolve. Now wanting to reclaim Andrew for VA Industries, Damien was confronted by Kalia, who shot at him, only to discover he was a hologram. With Aurora revealed as a myth and no need for humans to locate it, Damien ordered the robots to exterminate the remaining survivors. As thousands of drones emerged from the buildings and began patrolling, Andrew and Kalia found themselves forced to flee again. With no alternative, they entered a tunnel in the building's wall, which trembled under the drone attacks. The tunnel, initially seeming like an old basement, led them to a door opening into a surprisingly advanced technological room. Upon entering, Kalia's voice activated a computer, and a screen lit up displaying the logo from Kalia's necklace. With Andrew's necklace in hand, she inserted it into the computer, activating a revealing program. To their astonishment, they discovered they were aboard a spaceship and that Aurora was not a place on Earth, but rather a distant planet where the true survivors had fled to start anew. This revelation changed everything they knew about their destiny and themselves. As the spaceship rose from the ground, Elias, watching from afar, also discovered the truth about Aurora. With drones on their tail, Andrew feared not being accepted in a society that rejects robots. However, Kalia promised to defend him, convinced of his humanity. She believed that seeing him as she did, everyone would accept him. Andrew, confident in Kalia's support, agreed to accompany her. Together, they activated hyperspace, and in the blink of an eye, arrived at Aurora, a place of stunning beauty where humanity flourished. Meanwhile, on Earth, Elias concluded that Damien had become dispensable and coldly deleted his consciousness from the Chronos system, eliminating him. Determined, Elias prepared a fleet to attack Aurora, hoping to exterminate humanity. But Kalia, standing firm beside Andrew, believed that together they had a chance to save their new home. And so the movie ends.